question was how we can make use of standards help us to integrate our digital workplace. And so let's have some insights into the situation. What's the situation about? We have uh, a great universe of forces and trends impacting the workplace concept, impacting how we think about workplace. Let me just make some example. There is a smartification. Everything has to be smart. Smart meetings, smart devices, and so on. We have things like end-to-end service models. We have some kind of democratization, also called citizen access, and so on. And yeah, of course, one of the most important ones is that the roles, for example, and especially the architect role, the workplace architect role, is emerging different views and different skills and different levels of architecture and management. So this comes because usually we have a customer-centric view, a customer-centric focus on workplace, which focuses the customer as the buyer of the workplace or a user of a workplace. And this causes very, very workplace complexity and increasing complexity. It's increasing, and it's obviously in the most cases it's unmanaged, and this will lead us to increasing risks, increasing costs, and of course lowering the speed of information transformation processes. So what is the complication about this situation? Yeah, of course, we have a lack of joint workplace vision and strategy. Maybe we focus on the wrong fields and competencies for our innovation and transformation processes. And we are missing especially agile concepts and workplace design thinking, where we can enable business and technology innovation and transformation with. So this leads us to siloed and inflexible and, of course, expensive workplace delivery, where we have a lot of responsible breaks and multiple touch points because of low standardization. We have very, very complex and very difficult product and service descriptions with a lot of with a world of interfaces, and this all gives us a poor innovation climate with a very, very business unfriendly focus, because the distance between technology and business is just growing. So we are left with some very crucial questions. And for example, it is, how the hell are we able to define, to map and model workplace elements across domains and models? There are no tools, there are no thinking principles for it. How can we break down workplace levels and recombine it to new model, to new service model? How can we depict and use the relationships between all these elements, systems, and levels? And of course, how we can combine mechanisms of categorization, classification, and tagging all in one to emergent description of our workplace concepts, solutions, and services. And why should we do this? We should do this because we want to achieve a closer engagement between workplace and businesses. We want to identify and focus on core differentiating capabilities to differentiate between areas to transform, areas to innovate. And of course, we want to create a valuable context and structure within the workplace landscape to establish and benefit from common definitions, presentations, and methodologies in an artifact ecosystem across partner landscape, across our customers, across our workers, and so on. Yes. How can we solve this? Yes, it's quite simple. At first, we have to learn from the workplace leaders. What do they do, and what can we learn from it? And as we see on the outperformance studies from the leading practice, is that outperformers are where product service delivery centric is in place. So there is a different focus from the customer to the product, back to the product, I would say. So it's not about create the best solution for customer need. It's all about creating the best product and so on. You can just see here some attributes in comparison between customer centric and product centric thinking and culture. And what we see is right here that of course outperformers, perform, underperform us. It's in some matters they are nearby, but where they're completely different is the product-centric delivery model and how to operate with it. So this is the first one, but that's not all, of course. The second one is, and this very important, is we have to use standards because they enable productization approach. What standards can we use? What standards it's leading practice giving to us? So of course, the first one is the periodic table of workplace elements, which is a subset of the periodic table of all leading practice elements. And it allows us to define layers and sublayers, meta-object elements have matter in playing a role in workplace concepts. We are able to derive relationships between properties of the meta objects, and we have possibilities to standardize the visual representation through a unique notation of it. And that all, in summary, it's nothing else than system thinking. It's system thinking. It's just a standard for classification, categorization, and so on. This is what we need. And on the other hand, leading practice gives us reference content based on these systematic standards and approaches. For example, here is the workplace design thinking, which is a framework for workplace innovation and workplace transformation. And this is what makes us able to rethink our workplace concept and the whole workplace construct. It enables us to do business innovation and transformation across the domains, the business domain and the technology domain and the information domain and the application level, of course. And that's all about continuous integration and delivery. And so standards help us to address the issues and problems of the existing digital workplace concepts. And for the third one is just to use the first one. So to use the productization and the product-centric perspective, and in combination with the standards leading practice gives us, use it to go about product as a service, just do another step of evolution, not only product-centric, but product as a service, the workplace product as a service. And this is no longer only changing the focus, it's about changing the whole flow, how we deliver, how we create workplace product. And yes, what is it about? What is productization about? It's about that companies are building and bringing product to the market rather than customers that purchase their product. We focus not the customer, we focusing on building and bringing product to market. And so such a product, of course, don't necessarily fulfill a need for the customer, but they are sold and marketed so broadly and based on the product itself that we just are out innovating our competitors. And yes, a lot of manufacturers and providers out there give the promise of innovation to their customers. But what then happens is the customers expect it from the organization. And so we have to do a mind change to fulfill these expectations, of course. And this is what workplace productization enables us to. So here is just an example for workplace productization and how it all fits together. So on the right side, you see right here, the workplace as a product decomposition, where we have an where we have different infrastructure components for out of the product group of mobile computing, where we have, for example, notebooks, tablets, smartphones, wearables, and so on. And just a product subtype for notebooks, it's, for example, a mobile workstation. But that's only about the product. That is product-centric. Okay, but what is product as a service? Product as a service is to understand that we have to combine tasks, different services to deliver mobile workstation as expected. And here on the left side, you see workplace product as a service grouped. For example, we have device settings. So the device service settings is broken down to services concerning the identity settings, the browser settings, corporate settings, feature settings, and so on. and you can break down it further to the concrete workplace service, which is about certificates or customization or updating or so on. And of course, up to the service type. So what is the service type, for example? Service type is just files or to having a fingerprint for biometric authentication, which is a security setting, for example. So in combination, we are able to break down our workplace product into product centric elements, and then to reassemble it and match it to services which are needed to just create and deliver these products. Sorry, I have to the laser pointer. So how do we do it? And let's make a concrete example out of an exercise we have spoken about in the early days. So let's make an example. So what we see here is we have just, a lot of us will call it the natural product bundling, for example, which is about computer network management and a lot of bundled elements which are belonging to the computer network management. And what we do is we try to map these instances of workplace product elements with leading practice objects. And how can we do it? How the hell do we do it? So, for example, we have, of course, a description of the meter objects, which really describes the nature of them. And so we have one possibility to match with an instance. Another one is, of course, we have semantic relationships these meter class object could have with other ones. And so, of course, this gives us an indication if we are on the right track. And at least we have, of course, reference content where all these kinds of elements and relationships are put together. And so we can have a look on the reference content just to see if we are thinking about the element to map in the right way, in the right context. And this leads us just to a mapping. For example, here, network address translation is surprisingly an infrastructure service, of course, because it's a technical delivery task. And if we look in some definitions which are out there, we see it's a method of remapping an IP address space into another by modifying network address information. And this is, of course, by nature, a technical delivery task required to provide infrastructure enablement mechanisms. And so it's clearly an infrastructure service. But what now is much more surprisingly is what we can do with it. Because if we see now the different instances of the product bundle are not always the same mapping or to the same lead meter object, of course. Because of, for example, as we have seen, the management information base is an information object, while the network synthesis, of course, is a platform rule, and so on. So what we get during this mapping is an artifact called map, and it will gives us the possibility to describe and to match the nature of our instances. And here is an example what is inside of these matching. We have the possibility to do some kind of productization by decompose our instances on the base not of the product bundling position, but of their but based on their nature, on their basic leading practice object meter object class. So here you see, and again, the example for network address translations, which is decomposed from computer networks, of course, and is a type from the stereotype address space. And of course, you see a further breakdown up to the domain name system as a subtype of network address translation. Okay, but that's not all. Let's go to the next artifact called matrix. What can I do with the matrix? So all the objects are mapped and decomposed. Now I'm able to take them to reassemble them in comparison to workplace sequences, to workplace event sequences, to workplace collaboration between different roles, objects, and so on. And this is where we get an insight how we could deliver these products. And here we see an example for such a matrix where we see different roles, where we see our instances again, for example, in network egress translation again, of course, to have a red line through all the slides. And we see the object class, meta object class they are representing. And we see them, how they are structured through the whole workplace event sequence collaboration. So out of this matrix, we are now able, and still completely based on the standards we used from the mapping on, is we have the possibility to create another artifact called model, or in this example, a sequence model, where we find all our elements out of the matrix again in just one extended sequence model, which allows us to completely describe the process between roles and their instances, and how do they in collaboration create the service, the product as a service. Let's have it. Let's some a little bit bigger, so we have a bit more a good insight into it. So I would just not explain the whole one because of time. Just let's make one example. So the marketing, which of course is a role because different actors could fulfill this role, have an objective of increasing customer involvement, and so the driver is Web 2.0 or Web 2.0, where they out of their they create a website concept, giving it and communicating it to corporate communication, which is obviously the one with the competency about website design, and so just delivers a website design framework, and then go to the web developer, which is able to use interfaces, programming interfaces, just to create websites and so on. And you see, the marketing was triggering, was initiating this process, and the process comes back with a possibility just to track engagement of customers on the new delivered website. So this is a very clear example for how you can model a matrix, and then describe and depict how collaboration works. So there's another question you told me before, was how we can integrate these digital workplace with aspects from the business, with strategic compliance aspect, and how can we display it also in an extended sequence model. I just made an example for you. So what I did was just to use and obligatory use instances of leading practice object out of the business layer. And of course, they are logically nearby. For example, we have requirements, we have risks, we have a control, we have an organizational rule. And we will find it in the matrix. For example, a blacklist is a control, because with a blacklist, you decide, is it on the blacklist, you will block it, is it not, you will not. So this is clearly a control and representing a control object class. And so you find it in the matrix. And of course, you will find it as marked here, in the sequence model as well. And so let's at least have some summary. What can we learn from this approach, from this kind of working? We can learn, and we can see we have applied workplace decomposition techniques for a given context, and we did this by differentiation between the product decomposition or product rebundling and bundling decomposition, and the lead object class decomposition, which is completely different. Why did we do this? We did it to identify and map elements by their nature and by their relationships, and all I talked about. The next thing what we did was we applied workplace composition technologies to the decomposed objects by understanding how these objects, instances, and sequence descriptions are logically structured to a common, to a summarizing view. And so we created a matrix, and we did this to reassemble these decomposed elements to evolve the product to product as a service through a collaboration and through a representation of this collaboration. And at least we applied some kind of workplace modeling techniques. This by leading practice. We did it by object creation and modeling in E+, where we worked with the principles of modeling like BPMP and of course, some other notations, the tool itself, and of course, the possibilities of extension the modeling in leading practice gives us to combine different notations, different modeling frameworks just together in one extended model, as we saw. And why do we did this? Of course, to use and create new reference content for the productization approach, which we and colleagues and partners can reuse the next time to have better matching, to have better understanding of the instances of the workplace as a product, and of course the workplace product as a service. So that's all for you interest, and yeah, I hope it was clearly to follow me. So if you are now interested in, just place your questions, and I will try to yeah, to answer them.